welcome. I've been very excited to talk to you, as I'm excited almost every time I'm doing this conversation because I find it so inspiring. And I will start by introducing you. I'm talking to Tolee Fotitzidis. I hope I'm saying this right, except that it has a lot of breaks. Fotitzidis.
Yeah, that's right. That's right, yeah.
Tolee helps ambitious people overcoming their obstacles and limitations to reach their peak performance and achieve lasting change with fulfillment in any aspect of their life. He is the founder and host of the Generosity Project, which I recommend to check out if you speak Greek especially, but there are also some English episodes. He's a coach at Breakthrough in 30 Days, and he speaks at conferences about modern marketing, leadership, and awakening. Now that's an entrance. I met you when we were doing the Alt MBA together, which is 2 years ago now, I think, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So we were doing intense online stuff. That's how we met. Thinking about also, I think, these things, leadership and marketing and being a human being, having empathy and all of this. And we've since had a lot of very inspiring conversations, I find, among other things about integrity or relating subjects at least. And actually, yeah, I wanted to ask you if you would like to say a few things more about what you do, actually.
Yeah, first of all, thanks for having me here. I'm really glad. As you said, we met over Zoom and we continue meeting over that platform is just amazing. Connecting people like us, otherwise we wouldn't knew each other.
That's
so when we met, when we did the Alta MBA, it was really transformational for me, and I think for you as well. It helped me gain clarity and have that mindset in order to dig deeper and see things beyond what's superficial, and trying to challenge the biases and the belief system we have in our DNA, in our culture, or however you might want to call it. And this helped me understand people, understand their worldviews. This is when I realized exactly what empathy means, and to distinguish between rational thoughts and feelings and emotions. And this is when all this, actually it was a kickoff for me, all this transformation about starting believing again that there's something else beyond our flesh and our brain, and that there's something out there that connects us. And it's an ongoing journey. I call it studying life, and it will never end, hopefully. I will never graduate. Yeah, that's the exciting thing, and that's what I do with clients, and let's call them students who attend those workshops. We talk about those stuff and how we can combine personal life with business, because it's not what I believe, there's not such thing as work-life balance, but there's an alignment. We should align all these values and bring them together, and we have the right to be happy doing our work and be fulfilled.
Yeah, and like this brings me to, I wanted to add also that you are a father.
Yeah.
I've been speaking to some mothers in the last weeks, and now you have 2 children, right?
Yeah, I have 2 daughters, almost 7 and 5. They used to be the greatest teachers so far in my life. And lately, having a discussion with a friend, with an awakened being like you are, he told me like, we should stop letting our kids being our teachers and reminding us how joyful life could be, and letting them just be kids. We should grow up and be responsible about our own lives, and letting the kids be kids and adults be adults. Because I mean, sometimes I get confused. Who's the father here? My daughters or me? Because they teach me a lot of lessons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder if we can stop taking other people as our teachers. And once we take this attitude that we continue learning, as you said, is there anyone who's not a teacher?
Yeah, that's the thing. The hugest insights I had having coaching sessions, being a coach, that's when the most blind spots were revealed. So, as you said, every being we meet in our life is a projection in something we have already, and something they have to remind us something. They teach us something, even if we like it or not. Most of the times it's from people we don't really like hanging around with. They trigger some negative emotions. That's the kind of people that we should dig deeper in that relationship and see what's exactly going on there. There's something hidden we can't see. Yeah.
Interesting. So to talk about integrity, the first question I always ask is the biggest one. It's whether you have a concept of what integrity means or what it is for you and how you experience it in your life.
Integrity, it's how I see it, how I define it. It's being complete, being undivided, and not having the need to be completed by any other individual. At the same time, being undivided with the rest of us, being aware that we are all one. And this is a really thin line to grasp that on the one hand, we are individuals, on the other, we are all one. And that's the hardest part. That my experience is my experience, and it doesn't have to be your experience. If I perceive something joyful, it can be painful for you. And that's why how I have a rule for me is to act in integrity is being absolute honest to our feelings, recognize them, and then do whatever according to them, who we decide to be, but something that serves that oneness and doesn't bring separation in relationships and in this oneness that we are all together. So it's not just as acting based on our feelings with anger and hate or something like that. It's a combination.
Can you give an example? I think I find it could be interesting both with an emotion like anger or hate, but also with one maybe excitement or happiness. Like what could be examples of this experience?
It's the same, forcing our excitement on others, that we are excited about something and how things should be on others. It's again pushing them doing something they don't want, and that's separating us from others. It's forcing our will on others, and it's expecting respecting the free will of every human being out there. So an example is like I'm excited about an idea, about a project I want to do, and my partners, my coworkers, they don't really find that a great idea. And it's okay. that
Mm-hmm.
they don't experience it like I experience it. But this is the point where I have to trust my intuition, move forward without my actions causing a separation in so the change I'm gonna trying to make here shouldn't be about myself. It can't serve only myself, because if I'm harming others, it comes directly back to me, because we are one. It's always something we do, it's about others. It's never about us. I mean, I cannot produce anything, and even if there's an exchange of energy or money, I mean, I cannot produce anything that doesn't serve others. I cannot buy my own stuff. I cannot buy my own services. I cannot buy my own products. So that's where the separation part comes in. And
so how would you then define, or how do you experience this being honest to these emotions that you feel, or these drivers that you have yourself, without pushing it on others? What do you mean when you say that?
First of all, being aware of them. And I believe that we are 100% honest to our emotions, to our feelings. Like if I'm lying to a niña, I might be not honest to a niña, but I'm honest to my feelings, which are, if I'm telling the truth, you might reject me, or you might be angry at me or mad at me. So, but I'm absolutely honest to my feelings. So the step is, and this is where the awakening part comes, I'm faster than my thoughts and my intentions. So if my intention is to keep that oneness, I have to be aware of that feeling and say, hey, I'm afraid if I'm telling you the truth, you might be mad at me.
Yeah.
So my highest intention should be to keep that oneness. So if I'm honest to you about my feelings, then everything changes.
So, for example, you would tell me,
I'm afraid if I'm telling you the truth that you might misunderstand me, or you might judge me, or you might reject me. And that's the first place. Being aware of our emotions, our feelings, and communicating them to others. So that builds this emotional bonding. And from that point on, or even if I've done something like lying to you, not telling the truth, not apologizing about not being honest but explaining, look, I've done that because in that moment it was uncomfortable for me to telling the truth, or anything. The driver is always a feeling. And once we explain how we feel about certain situations, then we can increase honesty in relationships. Which is at the end integrity.
Do you have a physical sensation that you connect to integrity? Like, how does it feel in your body when you experience integrity, or also the opposite? Like, how do you feel? How does it feel?
I don't want to sound here new age positive thinking, love, but it is love. Yeah. And if you're grounded, you're complete, you're one, you feel like nobody can harm you.
And so how does that feel in your body?
Yeah, it's absolutely strength. I mean, it's you don't have the need to prove to anyone anything, because you feel that's the right thing to do, no matter the outcome. You feel that this is the right thing to do. And this is your, I don't know, like Hulk without the anger and the green color. Yeah, but you at the same time you can hug everybody and embrace all of them in your arms. It's like, I don't know, it's not you anymore. It's you feel the connection to everything that surrounds you. And the opposite, it's you're not connected anymore to yourself. You're not channeling, let's call it like this, to the source, the energy, the universe, however you might like to call it. And then it's fear.
And how does that fear feel?
Fear is you're always afraid of something. Afraid of people seeing that you're so small, that you're not enough, that you might not make it, that people might judge you. So there's those two things, love and fear.
But so does it mean for you that if you are afraid, you can't be in integrity? You can't be both?
You can if you face your fear. If you see it in its eyes and you say, okay, you have to show me something here. Let's go. If you accept it, let it sit next to you. High five with your fear. That Gordon used to say, dance with your fear. Then you're using it in order to move forward. And you're not hiding or pushing it away, because if you push it away, it becomes bigger and bigger. I mean, fear is good. It points to the direction you have to go.
Yeah. To bring it really to a very concrete everyday life level, are there moments where you find it particularly challenging, or moments that you find super easy that might be challenging for others to live as the human being that you want, as one?
I mean, yeah. There are certain moments in life, it just comes up and then you say, hey, why did this happen right now? And there are mornings you wake up and you feel so pumped and you say, let's do this. I haven't found a formula. I try always to step back, take a breath, and observe my thoughts and what's going on, my emotions, and then ask, why are you feeling this right now? Is this the kind of person you want to be? Who are you really? And then decide based on who I want to be, and to be that in that moment, and act on it. Act as if I were already that person. I mean, I might be afraid to step on a stage and talk in front of people, but I always wanted to do this. And I can imagine myself doing it in 10 years and being really confident doing that. So I have to sync myself to that reality and decide that I am that person already. How would I act if I would be that person already? How would Tolee act if he would be absolutely honest to Aninia? And based on that, and then I have more strength going through that fear. But it's almost trying to being aware of our thoughts. And that's the state of being awakened, how I see it, being faster than our thoughts, because the fastest thing in the universe is the thought, and we can be faster than that before it becomes an emotion. And then it changes our intention, and our intention changes from being connected and doing things that matter to separation and defense and hiding, because we are not aware of how this intention switches with one single thought that becomes an emotion, a feeling. We are afraid of something, and the whole thing changes. So actually, it's always trying to be aware of our thoughts and changing that thoughts if it doesn't serve us anymore.
It's interesting. So for you, like the way that you experience it or see it is that the thought is always the first thing? Like the emotion is always something that comes later. It's not cannot be the other way around.
Yeah, there's a so-called sponsoring thought.
Sponsoring thoughts. Okay.
Yeah, I like this thing from Neil Donald Walsh, where he wrote this series of books, Conversations with God, where it says the mind reacts, the soul creates. So the mind always observes things based off of previous experiences, so it judges what's it sees and tries to protect us. And
Mm.
if we leave those previous experience to the side, not our own, mostly experience from others telling us, hey, it's danger to go there.
Mm.
And if we are aware of it and stop those thoughts of our mind and leave our intuition to lead us, then most of the time something magical happens.
Mm. Interesting, because like this is leading a little bit away from maybe integrity, but it's also
Yeah.
part of it, because
Mm-hmm.
we're talking about these elements of being human in a way.
But isn't it part of being human?
Yeah, exactly. That's what. Yeah, it is part of the subject because it's part of being human. But I find so interesting. Like I've met this many places that somehow the mind sometimes gets this bad image of being only stuck or like only projecting or judging or things like this. And I find that the mind is like all parts of us. It has, like, when we get stuck in patterns or when we can stuck in repetition in a way, it can be that it's like it's a protective thing, but at the same time we can with our mind dream, we can invent things, we can like do all these things that are huge and big and future. So I always hurt a little bit when the mind gets punished for also doing the judgment part, because I think there I find the wholeness gets a bit hurt or disturbed, because as a whole, like the mind, and I understand the mind as a process of kind of making sense from what we experience. So from all the feelings that we have, from all the interactions that we have with the world around us, from experiences we had, from maybe random ideas that happened because we met this one thing and then we met another thing and then suddenly we had this idea. So, and that's also the power of the mind.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to add that thought.
So the thing is, who's controlling the mind? And what is the mind? I mean, is the mind just our brain?
I wouldn't say so.
Yeah, I see the mind is our whole being in a physical realm, right? Every cell in our body is our mind. Because, I mean, you go outside, it's cold, and this triggers you being, going back and taking your jacket. It's not that
so there is a physical sensation before there is a thought. Oh.
Yeah, but the physical sensation triggers a thought, right?
Yeah.
So
but then
there is
that just means that the thought is not always the first thing.
The thought is not always the first thing. Okay.
I'm just trying to challenge your there's always first response during thought.
Yeah. The first thing that we experience is the physical, and then comes the thought. Does it come at the same time? And what happens if you go outside, being aware, it's cold outside. How is this guy called who runs naked and has a certain meditation?
Wim Hof, I think.
Wim Hof, exactly. What does he do? I think
he goes into ice water.
Yeah, he controls his mind that it doesn't trigger those senses that it triggers to us. The cold outside, maybe. I don't know.
I think he also learned, he also practices a very powerful breathing technique in order to maintain the physical. And I mean, we can adjust to very different surroundings. No, we can see this by there are humans living in the snow and there are humans living in the desert, and it's like when you bring a baby in one place or the other, it will grow up adapted
So
to this?
my question would be, a human being on that planet that doesn't have any influence on from its DNA from its ancestors, having grown up only in a warm climate, and suddenly we position that human being on a cold climate. That physical reaction on itself, what kind of thoughts would that trigger?
Yeah.
How would that human being experience cold if it experiences at the age of 20 at the first time? It would be
Without previous ancestor
no
DNA.
experiences, no DNA. For the very first time, you experience something like switch in temperature. What kind of thoughts would that trigger? Because then is what I think, the mind, its interpretation of what that means. So it doesn't let you have a new experience because it judges those experiences based on, but at the same time, as you said, the mind is dreaming, has a vision. So who's controlling that mind?
I don't know, I would say that it also depends, even if it doesn't have ancestor information.
Yeah.
It still depends on how, in the 20 years that this person was in a warm climate, how did they learn to deal with challenges there? Right? Because one thing is that they come to an extreme situation or an extreme challenge, and they, in a way, need to deal with that challenge. It's a physical one in this case, but it could be, I believe at least, that when you learn, like, how do you learn to look at a challenge? Is it overwhelming for you because you never know how to figure something out? Or is it, there's a challenge, I need to learn something here. What are the things that I need to learn? Who do I need to ask? Or is it even an option for me to ask for help? Or like, all these things also play.
Yeah, that it's really complex at the end. I mean, we can't say, hey, if it's not an equation like 1 + 1. Okay, if that's when that's so many things influenced. There's the conscious, the subconscious mind. So they say there's the superconscious, and I don't know what's going on right now. I mean, there are different kind of meditations. You can make hypnosis. I mean, all that techniques work on a certain level. For some, they could heal certain anxieties. How you call it? Anxieties through hypnosis, other through energy healing methods, other through yoga. Other people made this going to the doing counseling sessions for 20 years. I mean, there's no path. Everybody has to find his own, because everybody is unique. So I mean, what works for me doesn't work for you.
True.
Yeah.
Can I come back anyway to very practical, very everyday life? We have a tendency to do this, like we go into this quite philosophical realm with hypothetical 20-year-olds that have never experienced cold.
Yeah.
So, but really, like, integrity, the sensation of being whole, or the sensation of really being able to be honest with who you are at the moment and how you are interacting right now in your everyday life. Because I think this is something that I at least find interesting, or in a way also a relief, when I have this intention. Yes, of course I want to live with integrity, but also, I do fuck up sometimes, or I do meet places where I'm afterwards like, damn it, I didn't want to do it this way. And it's a relief sometimes to hear, okay, other people have this intention as well, and they also fuck up. which is why I'm asking this question in a way, like to expand a little bit. Okay, how do we then deal with this? So what would be like really concrete, if you are willing to share this?
Yeah, of course.
Moments that you remember or that you've experienced where you were like, this like hurt my integrity, or I don't know how to create integrity in this moment because I'm in a dilemma or I am stuck with something.
I experienced that a lot being with close family members, because they see you like the person you used to be 10 years ago, especially parents. I have really hard time being myself in front of my parents and people who I know since I was a young boy, because for them I'm still the Tolee who goes to kindergarten, and I used to, and this is something I'm really struggling with, because I get affected by how they talk to me and how I would like to be perceived. But in that moment, it's not like how they perceive me, it's how I see myself. I step into that role and I keep playing that role. It's because of me, not because of them. And I haven't found a solution to that yet. I don't know really. I mean,
are there moments when it's easier or moments when it's more challenging? Or is it all more or less the same?
There are moments for sure that are easier. When there's a celebration and you have had a bottle of wine. I'm joking. But I haven't figured out on those moments what I could do. I mean, I'm not brave enough. I know what I should do, just be myself. But I'm not brave enough to do that. And I'm not sure what I'm afraid of, not being myself on that moment. I really don't know. I mean, this is something I believe that if I can tackle this challenge, being myself in front of family members, not my wife and we share everyday life here, and we share those values, and we live our life based on how we perceive it today. But going back to family, parents, being there, the new version of myself that I decided to be, I know if I can tackle that challenge, it will really open new doors.
So it's people that know you for a long time that kind of have their own image or act towards you in a way that they're used to already act to?
I think I'm attracting that behavior. But they are doing it. I'm not allowing them to see who I am really, who I decided to be.
Is it a one-way thing?
I can't control what they're doing, but I can only control who I am in certain situations. So that's the only thing I'm aware of. I mean, and I have the experience, once I change how I perceive a certain relationship, the other person changes as well. Because it's a relationship, the relationship changes. It's not that they change or I change, the relationship changes. So in that context, if I position myself on the different chair and say, hey, I'm that version now, they have no other choice
than to relate to you
different. Yeah, so that's my responsibility to change, to be brave enough to face that fear. I don't know what it is, really. I don't know. I mean, I guess most of us have problems with parents, and most of our blind spots are sitting there on that relationships. Yeah, we have to be really brave to face that. I mean, I was raised like our generation. Our parents never told us that they love us. I mean, we experienced that. We have that. We know that they love us. They care about us, but we never expressed it
They
verbally.
never expressed it to you. That
Verbally, yes. And a lot of because my parents were immigrants. We come from Greece. Have that same thing. And now we are overdoing it with our kids. Everything from morning to we shout it to 1,000 times. I love you. I love you. I love you. It's now.
Okay.
And I think I was never brave enough now as an adult to tell my parents that I love them. I don't know why. I don't know what I'm afraid of.
So what kind of person, like, how would it feel if you were to do it?
Oh, that would be really amazing. That's those certain moments, something's holding you back, to be absolutely honest, to even to tell to other person, look, I would like to tell you this and that, but I can't. I don't know why, but I can't. But I can't. Can't even do this. Yeah.
I don't know if you can't, but you don't at the moment.
Yeah, I don't. For sure I can. If I decide to do it, I will. Yeah. But I see it, you know.
It's exciting, no? To even think about it.
Yeah, because I used to really judge myself for those things and be angry at myself about those moments. And now I see it as a challenge, and I play with those situations, and it's a different attitude. I mean,
it sounds like you, in a way, they're like connected to integrity. There's some kindness towards yourself, right? Like you see that you, okay, yes, in a way you're not standing up in the way that you would like to with your parents or with people that are close, but you also see, okay, but it's really, really challenging right now, and you are in a way on a allowing yourself to be so human as to have that fear, even though it might be unnecessary or
I used to be very angry at myself, and this created tension in relationships because it was about myself. And now I'm more calm about it. I try to observe it, take a distance, and see, okay, what's going on right now. I mean, this helped to have a better relationship with that persons, but first of all with me. And everything starts with us, and that's where integrity starts and integrity ends. It's how we perceive ourselves, who we are and who we are in a society. And that the first thing we should stop is self-judgment. Because once you are in the situation you described first, that you would like to behave different, but you didn't, the first thing we would do normally is judge ourselves and be angry at ourselves. And this reflects then to other people we hang around. So at that moment, you are aware of it. Be grateful that you observed it. You can go a little roll back and see what trigger moment caused that you lose that your integrity, let's call it that way. And next time, you just have to be aware of it and say, okay, instead of doing this, I will do that. It probably will not happen the first time, but this is the way. That's where discipline is required.
Great. You answered the question before I asked it, because it would be, what is a practice that you would like to share with with people that are listening? And I love it, like to observe and to, in a way, practice that kindness that you that kindness, and also going back to from the beginning what we were speaking about, learning. No, it's observing something, noticing, okay, I did not want it to do this way, or I would like to do it differently the next time, and then learning as you practice and keep this intention in all the, every time you meet your parents again, or every time you go into the encounter that might be a trigger moment for you.
Yeah, that's for me the only thing. It's heavy weight, like heavy weightlifting, to be an observer of your own thoughts and of that moment. It's not that you can do it, okay, let's do that, and you go out to the world and you start doing that. It requires training. It's like going to do workout. You don't have a six-pack by hitting the gym once. You have to do it again and again and again. And it's the same thing, observing the moment and be just an observer, and stop judging yourself about, I mean, the moment you say that behavior was bad, it's you losing that kindness, you're losing integrity, because you're judging yourself. There's no right, there's no good and bad. It is what it is. And once we see it for what it is, and we stop have interpretations for that, then slowly it will help us change behaviors. And there's no, you should do that, you should say it like this. The only thing we should do is act in integrity.
Okay, and maybe enjoy life a little bit.
Yeah, but this is where this is also a little contradiction. Like, freedom comes when you're absolutely responsible for your own thoughts and actions, and that's where joy comes. That's when you start enjoying, when you're struggling, when you're not enjoying a moment, and you start observing yourself outside of yourself, and you say, "Hey, Tolee, what's going on, buddy? Why can't you be just yourself?" You start having fun and enjoying yourself about being in those situations, because those moments are when you're leveling up, when you actually take that new lessons you need in order to move forward.
So it's actually every time you meet your parents, it's like going to the gym, right? You're doing an exercise a little bit more.
Yeah.
Around.
Yeah.
Let's see when you will go to the ring. In the end.
Look, they used to say that with physical death, all that problems go away. But our challenge is to solve that issues before physical death comes, because then it's too late.
Yeah, that's an intention, at least, to have.
And this is another thing, that being aware that we are mortal.
Yeah, it changes something, no, when we notice that we are mortal, because then, yeah, it's not forever that we can do everything. There is something that makes it very real and very, okay, I want to be that person within this lifetime.
Yeah.
I don't know if there will be others.
And and for me, this is the ultimate success. This is how I define success nowadays. It's not financial, it's not anything else. It's just, if you succeed in this lifetime to be the person you decide to be, in most situations in everyday life, that's success.
Beautiful.
I mean, being yourself and acting based on that, according to that, it's great. It's beautiful. It's magic. Yeah,
this is a beautiful end line, I think. But who knows? Maybe we will talk again at some point.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm very happy that you joined me today, Tolee. And look forward to our next conversation, wherever that will be.
Thank you so much for letting me part of it. It was my pleasure.
Mine too.
Yeah.
Thank you.